Welcome to On This Hill, a podcast of Church on the Hill. Pastor Jason, obviously, is out traipsing around somewhere in Central Oregon on vacation. And our guest,
well-deserved vacation.
We all deserve vacation. And our guest today is Matt Thatcher, who just recently came on staff with us at Church on the Hill as an executive pastor. We'll talk about that in a minute. But last week, if you watched our podcast, Pastor Jason promised that we would talk about aliens. And I think we're going to we'll do that when he gets back.
I'm game for anything, so let's, wherever you want to go.
There we go. So Matt Thatcher, again, pastor here at Church on the Hill, just recently came on August 1. We're excited to have you. And a little bit of background. How'd you find us, or how'd you get into this position?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, before that, because I've been around Church on the Hill for about 20 years, and worked on the board and volunteered, so we were connected for sure. But prior to working here, I was at Cascade School District, and I've been at Cascade prior to coming on here about 22 years. And most of that was as the high school principal, which is, if you know Cascade, just down the road in Turner, just a few miles. Yeah. And came on initially as the athletic director and assistant principal for the first 5, and then the last 15 or 16 as the high school principal. So that was what I did before this. And ultimately, I've been in public education prior to that for a total of about 32 years, coaching, teaching, school counselor, athletic director, and then eventually principal.
Wow. So if you're listening here today and you're not from the Salem area, I know some of you are other states, even down in Mexico, other countries listening. Cascade is kind of adjacent to us, our county. It's like, or not county, but a community that's not far from here. But it's more of a rural community, right? A little bit more relaxed.
Just outside the city of Salem in Turner, and it's a high school of about 800 kids. But yes, probably what you would consider more traditional. If someone's in our age bracket, they're thinking about high school like it used to be 30, 40 years ago. That's more what it resembles. It's its own little district, 3 elementaries, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about education for just a few minutes here. So 30 years in education, and you just this year basically stepped out after doing that. Is that like a relief? Is it bittersweet? How does it feel to actually be out of that environment and in a different, church ministry is obviously a different thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely are mixed emotions. Of course, there's some great things about being in a high school. There's a lot of juice being around high school kids day after day. But it's also a lot of long days. I mean, you're there at probably 7 o'clock in the morning, and if there's a game going on or a concert, you might not get home till 10 o'clock at night, lots of night and weekends. So I sometimes don't miss quite that long schedule, but I do miss the relationships with the kids and just the chance to impact lives on a daily basis. So I think it's like you said, just a little bit bittersweet. Yeah. Actually, I started working here at the church this last year, kind of in a part-time basis, just to come on.
We had you half and half.
In a support role. So frankly, for me, that was a good transition to be able to kind of step down and begin to release that. So
I want to go back to something you said. You beat me to the punch. You kind of shared the high point and the low point. I'm going to talk about the high point for a minute. Being able to work with high school kids. You said there's a lot of juice and there's a lot of opportunity, but looking back, what did that look like in real life, real time? How did you have opportunity to speak into the life of a kid in high school? We all know that high school was probably, for most people, it wasn't the best years of my life. Best 6 years of my life, high school.
You'll get your diploma soon. Don't worry.
I'm working on it right now. I'm going to wrap that up. But I look back, and I was raised in Chicago. I went to a high school, 4,000 kids, and honestly, I don't have a lot of great memories. Sports was probably my safe place. I felt like I had some measure of success but academics was a tough thing for me. I struggled with some learning disability, and then it was just a tough environment. But you were there. How do you speaking into the life of a high school kid? How did that happen, and what did it look like?
That's a great question, and really it happened because someone from the school was influential in my life. So actually, I for the first younger years in school, I was in Southern California, and about age 9, 10, 11, my parents split up, and they were divorced, and so I was floundering in junior high. And so I went to school the next year, and I had this basketball PE class. Well, as it turns out, that person teaching the PE class was the varsity coach for the high school. And he was just doing this kind of on the side as a PE class. And I just found something where I could get invested in, and he really was a person that spoke about integrity and work ethic and grit, and we began meeting to get better and having summer programs, and as long as I was in that school in Southern California, I was a part of that basketball program, and really gave me something to belong to that was positive in a time when my life was pretty chaotic. So fast forward to me going my own way in terms of education. I really hadn't considered working in schools right away. In fact, my degree was in counseling, and I was working for the juvenile department, just kind of helping kids there. But I was already coaching basketball at the high school, and they asked me to come on at the school when the counselor was gone for a year's leave of absence, and it was just a great fit. It was a great fit to do some of the same things that have been done for me, which is be able to pour into the lives of kids, both as a coach and as a teacher counselor.
Wow. So, I often wonder in my life, and again, God is sovereign, but the trajectory of my life would have been changed if I would have had somebody that could get me, could be patient with me when I was in high school. And I felt like I didn't, and I'm not whining or complaining. I'm just saying I realize now as a pastor and as a coach, so to speak, in different contexts, what a powerful impact someone can have just by coming alongside of another individual, especially, an insecure, growing, high school kid.
Well, that really was the best part about working in schools. Of course, there's the supervision, there's the evaluation, there's the budget, there's
the paperwork.
Exactly. There's the grind there. But being in the lives of kids, I did everything possible to be outside of my office and be in the hallways and be at the football game and be at the play, to be spending times with the lives of kids. So whether it was initially with coaching, which is a powerful relationship, you know that,
yeah.
or with kids in the hall, that was the highlight of my job. Even in a public school, and sometimes maybe even more so in a public school, there were kids that desperately needed a positive role model and someone to believe in them, and that was definitely the highlight of the position.
That's right. So there must have been situations where home was difficult, or maybe home was even falling apart, and somehow you would get wind of that. You were aware of that. How would you usually be aware of that? How'd you kind of, how'd you have the backstory? How'd you come to know that?
Well, that was one of the nice things about working in a school that was maybe a little bit smaller, even though there's 800 high school kids. We knew every single kid in there. And the other thing is we tried to get people, other believers, some who go here to Church on the Hill, to be a part of that school and to so it's not just one person. It's a group of people, a group of Christian teachers even and leaders that would do whatever they could to pour into the lives of kids. In fact, even to this day at Cascade, there's a group of teachers and administrators and leaders that are meeting on Fridays to pray for that campus. And so that is part of it. You invest in the lives, you get in the hallway, you ask tough questions, you build relationships with families, and you establish some longevity. We made a commitment to stick with it. Of course, public high schools these days, it's not always a perfect gig, but there were local schools around us where in the time that I was the principal, they had 6 or 7 principals just in that same period of time. So there was a commitment to stick through it and kind of be all in there. Yeah.
I think you see the same pattern is true. I think churches that are healthy, overall, not all the time,
sure,
but overall churches that are healthier tend to have staff, pastor, lead pastor, and others who have stuck with it, who have just been there more than 2 or 3 years. They've been there 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years. There's just something about that just the stability and the permanence there.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like, first of all, God calling me to go ahead and make the transition at this point, but also because it was being left in good hands. The current high school principal, Pete Rasmussen, comes here to Church on the Hill. He's a believer. Tyler Woodrow, who is the assistant principal, he's here every Sunday volunteering in Kid Nation. So it's not like we just said, well, we're done there. God had a plan to continue to support that community.
People who feel like they're there because they're sent there. It's a job on one hand. Everybody, you need to make a living, but they feel like it's almost almost like a mission field, so to speak. Not to use that cliche-ish, but yeah, it's like
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a
place
mission.
full of opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What about parents? Was there times where your relationship with the kids, trying to help a kid, a boy or girl, would it domino or lead into something where maybe outside of school you had time to or opportunity to speak into the lives of parents that were struggling?
Yeah. Yeah. Not to oversimplify it. Obviously, there are tough situations, and there are families and parents that really agree with what you're doing and the direction you're leading at school. And just like at a church, there are times when maybe people don't see eye to eye. So, of course, that happens. But when I came to Cascade, I literally did not know one person. We came here and felt like it was a good fit. We spent some time going around to the local stores in the community and say, "Tell me about this school," before I, bring my family and sink into it. So we didn't know anybody, but that was definitely one of our first goals. Go build relationship, not just with the kids, but with the families, with the business leaders, with the community, and that reaped a ton of dividends.
Wow. Give us your take on it, on this. So 30 years ago, we're talking, the 1990 something, 93, right? If I did the math right. Did I do the math?
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. And here we are, 30 years later, if you were going into education just fresh today, right out of school, and my first, assignment, my first class, whatever, this may sound like an obvious question, but what's changed? What do you see are the big changes in people going in to the public sector? A couple weeks ago, we had Adam here, who's the director of our Cross Hill Christian. So it's Christian private education. He spoke a little bit about public school. We have public school teachers in our congregation, but from your point of view, like if someone was to say, "Hey, what's changed?" What would you?
Well, first, clearly every school, every district is a little bit different. So I don't want to make sure I'm not stereotyping how it all is, but clearly things have changed in the last 30 years, in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
The rate of change.
It's accelerated.
Exactly. And so, of course, there are political and social issues that are weighing heavily on schools, both for Christians, but also people that just have traditional values. And how do you balance that? How do you continue to support students and families who come from a Christian background or have traditional values when the culture in schools and everywhere else is pushing significantly hard against that? That's the biggest shift. Is you've got culture that's pressing hard against traditional values in public schools. Then you also have, and part of it's just on the back of COVID, but you have kids and families that are in crisis. Now, you've always had kids and families that were struggling, but you have far more kids and families that are struggling with identity and anxiety and depression. And so this is a big part of what's going on in schools, and public school doesn't always have all the answers.
Yeah. It just seems like it never ends. I mean, the opportunity and it's always going to be with us. But as a pastor, at a church, I think I would echo the exact same thing. I think we've always had struggles. That's what discipleship is about. That's what ministry is about, and that's what community is about. But I think the rate or the quantity or whatever has gone up dramatically in the last few years. So now, you're not a teacher, you're a pastor. What do you like about that? I mean, you've gone from an executive pastor here does a lot of things. They wear a lot of hats, but you could have retired, I would imagine. What do you like about pastoring that compared to your previous life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not sure I would have just signed on with any church. So I've been, like I said, a part of Church on the Hill for
as an elder. Matt's been one of our elders.
Yeah,
he and his wife Jennifer.
Yeah, and been around Church on the Hill for 20 years and actively involved for quite a few. So getting to see from the outside in some of the incredible people and the great ministries that are going on, truly. And so coming on was a blessing because I already saw from the outside some of the cool things that are going on. The other piece about my position is I still get to work in schools in some way. So half of my role, as you know, is working with Cross Hill Christian School. And one of the things that we're trying to continue to do is ways to make that school even better. And that means helping with curriculum, helping with instruction, helping mentoring teachers, helping principals get the professional development that they need. So I think it's the best of both worlds for me, being able to help in the school where we're doing, which is Church on the Hill's biggest ministry, almost 600 kids we're ministering to, but also getting to bring some of that administrative expertise or experience at least
Right.
that I have to the church side.
Yeah, yeah. So, we're filming this right now. I'm not sure when it will air, but we're in the last week of August. Next week is Labor Day. School kicks off. And, moms and dads will be driving through here and driving through public school all over this city, dropping off their kids. If I was a believing mom or dad, and you're the teacher, and she's wondering or he's wondering, how could I pray for my child's teacher? What would you say? Like from an educator's point of view, if someone said, "How can I be praying for you?" I mean, and they, it was a sincere request. So what would you say?
Yeah. Well, I think it's very similar to even in years past. The first thing you would pray for is that the teacher builds relationship with a student. Whether it's a private school or a public school, that relationship is critical. So in these first few weeks, in fact, we just are doing some in-service right now on teacher training. Those first few weeks, it's about building rapport, relationship, and showing the kids that they truly do care about their entire lives, not just their math class. And that is so much the case here at Cross Hill Christian School. The emphasis on discipleship and mentoring and growing and spiritual growth, along with the history and the math and the science. So you would first pray that the teacher would have that ability to build that rapport. So that's the first part.
So Matt is an educator. He's a pastor, but he's also a parent. You're a dad, right? And you have how many kids, and what are they doing?
Yeah, so they're a little bit out of the house now. So Madison is 25.
You don't look that old already.
Yeah, I know. I try. But Madison is here locally, working in finance and doing great. And she's 25, like I mentioned. And Austin just graduated from Cascade. Both the kids actually went out to Cascade School from kindergarten all the way through, which was great to be your own kid's principal. Great most of the time.
Yeah.
They did well.
What did that look like? They're walking the halls and their dad's the principal. I mean, I'm not goofing off here.
I don't know about that.
Here,
I don't know about not goofing off, especially for Austin. But they did make it pretty easy on me. They got good grades, had good friends, and it was nice to be a part of their lives. I'm there anyway till 10 o'clock at night at basketball games, and maybe they didn't like me at the dances. I'm not sure your daughter wants you at her senior prom all the time hanging out, but other than that, it was a good experience most of the time. Yeah. And so Austin is now graduated. He had his first year at Chemeketa and is still living at home, working for the school out at Cascade in the tech department. But we're kind of almost to that empty nest stage.
Yeah, You gonna do anything exciting? Empty nest or traveling or
just be here and work with you?
Just be here and work. That's the most. That's your reward.
We do like traveling. We do like traveling. We got to finally take our daughter on a. We promised her our college graduation trip to Europe, and that happened right around COVID, so it was put off a couple of years. So we were able to do that this summer, which was great. And my wife actually still works out at Cascade. Jennifer, she works out at Cascade in HR in the central office. So we're going to be around at least for the short term for sure.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to have you guys around with us. An interesting little side note, is you were Teacher of the Year. What year was that? 2000?
Yeah, so actually it was Principal of the Year. Yeah, Principal of the Year. Yeah, Principal of the Year. I believe it was like 2016 now at this point. So for the state of Oregon, which again, they probably ran out of people to give it to. So they said,
did it come with a car?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe a little Barbie car. Yeah. But just to me, it was a great opportunity to shine the light on Cascade because of the great staff and the great community that we even got recognized. So if anything, it was just to shine the light on good things that are going out there.
Yeah, still an accomplishment. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Done. Yeah, we're excited to have you with us. We're looking forward to a great year here around Church on the Hill. Cross Hill Christian, public schools, City of Salem. We've been praying for the city and believing that God would do great things across the board, right?
So, well, this is a great time of year for both schools, like we mentioned, because school starts back up and there's excitement in the air.
Yeah.
But it's also a great time of year for churches, right? Because we have some fall classes that are coming up and we have some incredible ministries and the youth groups are just getting ready to start back up. So it is also a very busy time for churches and some incredible ministries are getting kicked off.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, we are. We're looking forward to it. Fall is a lot of excitement, a lot of activity, and it all kicks off. It all starts rolling next Tuesday. Here we go. Well, listen, it's been good. thanks for being with us here, and thanks for being with us on a bigger scale. I hope Pastor Jason is enjoying himself wherever he is. I hope he's going to listen to this, and we're looking forward to hearing about the aliens. He was fired up about that.
Absolutely, I can't wait.
Yeah. So if that's helped you, if this has helped listen to this, pass it along to somebody that might enjoy it. And if you don't have a church home, come see us. Or if you have just a need and you're not connected to community somewhere, and you need somebody to talk to, we would love to be here and help in any way we could. And we mean that sincerely. We've got a great team and a very qualified team. And so life can be tough. And the grind can be tough, family can be tough, but God is good, and Jesus is full of mercy and grace. So
yeah, I would agree. I would encourage people to reach out. Since there have been pastors coming and going this summer a little bit, I've got to be able to preach a little more with you. And even last Sunday, when people came forward to talk about their needs and how we could support them, that is again one of the highlights of the job. So please do reach out to us either on our website or by phone or after the service on Sunday. We want to be able to minister to you and to partner with you in wherever your journey is leading you right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope whenever we're watching this coming week is a good one for you.